Hello everybody, welcome to Flip the Switch, a podcast by Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, or GEAPP as we are lovingly known. In this podcast, we're talking about the accelerated adoption of renewable energy for a quick and smooth energy transition in the Global South. And to understand this topic better, I have with me someone very special. I have with me His Excellency Professor Yemi Osinbajo-san. He is the former Vice President of Nigeria and Global Advisor for GEAPP. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you for having me too.
We are very excited to have you as one of the key speakers at the Energy Transition Dialogues. And with that, I want to open the conversation. I want to ask you, why do you think, events like the Energy Transition Dialogues and Africa Climate Summit, how are they important in drawing South-to-South collaboration for attaining a just energy transition?
Okay, so I think these events are important first because they bring people together. I think that all of what we want to achieve by the Global North, Global South cooperation first involve bringing people together, first involve conversations of the sort we had at the Climate Summit in Nairobi, and also the Energy Transition Dialogues here in India. So I think that they create a good platform for conversations to happen. And there's nothing like the face-to-face conversations and sharing of experiences. So in that respect, I think they're just perfect.
That's a very beautiful answer. I was not expecting bringing people together. I think that is the start of anything good. Right. So now, if a global climate alliance does happen, how do you think a global climate alliance can help build consensus, on the transfer of resources like finance, technology, man capital, from the global north to global south, and vice versa?
Yeah, I think first, it's evident that the only way by which we can actually ensure that resources come to the Global South for purposes of the transition is with the active collaboration and cooperation of the Global North. So it makes sense to me that Global Climate Alliance will deliver those sorts of results. And really, I think first, there's a general recognition of the fact that net zero is net positive. I think that that's a convergence that has been reached, in my view, between the Global South and the Global North. I think everyone agrees that net positive growth is important, or what we describe as climate positive growth. And the only way to push the agenda of climate positive growth is by getting the resources from where they are. A lot of institutional private capital, of course, is in the north. Of course. And that's huge amounts of money. So far, what the south tends to get, what the MDBs offer, and funding from, some funds for mitigation and adaptation, etc. Yeah. But I think that this cooperation, the Global Climate Alliance, has that distinct possibility of being able to release or unlock, especially institutional private capital, which of course is in the order of almost 900 times what the balance sheet of the MDBs offer. Yes. So I think it's a great opportunity, and I think it's the right approach. Yeah. This is absolutely the right approach. Maybe the only approach that would work. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
If we need to move together into better days, we need to move together.
Absolutely.
Of course. Talking about Global South now. Global South is a heterogeneous group of countries. We're all very different. We have different market sizes, different investment risks. So how do you think the perspective of Global South, how can we attain our developmental goals, and how can we attain our economical goals as well by working together?
Working together.
Yes.
Well, okay, so I'm not so sure who it was who described this as there's a necessity for a handshake between the Global North and Global South, and an embrace between the countries of the global south. So while a handshake is required, as it were, across hemispheres, there is an important collaboration that the South must have, a South-South collaboration. And that is perhaps even more important because, first of all, there's commonality in so many different respects, and there's so much to share and so much to do. So there's a need for that, for that cooperation. And just as you pointed out, market sizes are different, practically, there are significant differences. But the commonalities are important. And one of the major commonalities, of course, is where we are in the transition journey.
Yes.
And how we can work with each other in that transition journey. And also how, speaking with one voice, we can actually gain the attention of the global north and the rest of the world. So I think our collaboration is absolutely important because, it's possibly the only way to ensure that we're able to get the attention of all who need to hear about the case for the energy transition for the global south and financing that energy transition, because again, the devil is in the finances.
Oh yes, absolutely. Now, climate goals are very prominent for international relations moving forward now. They're very important, right? So how do you think an alliance like Global South, of course, but also a structure like Global Climate Alliance, if it forms. How do you think they can help in easing the trade tensions, especially in the energy and green sector?
Well, again, these are issues that first you need to bring to the fore. So somebody needs to bring them to the fore and be an honest broker and some kind of mediator, if you like. And I think that that's a role that an alliance could bring about. First, the role of an honest broker, trusted by both sides, and who also sees all the perspectives. For example, one of the important things that will happen is, so we're saying in the Global South, and we're saying in Africa, for example, one of the major results of the Africa Climate Summit was a whole notion of climate positive growth as an economic paradigm for the development of Africa. Now that would involve investing, significant investments in renewable energy in Africa for purposes of developing Africa as an industrial hub, as a green industrial hub for the rest of the world. Now, how does that, so assuming that were the case, assuming we're able to get those sorts of investments that make Africa the green industrial hub of the world, the next question is, how do you have access to markets? Because this becomes a trade issue. Because so you develop all these green products, you manufacture all these green products, but then there must be access to markets, to the markets where these will be sold. So that is where the Climate Alliance, the Global Climate Alliance comes in as an honest broker. So there are all manner of mechanisms, that trade barriers and mechanisms that need to be surmounted and need to be overcome. And I think that one of the critical things that such an alliance can do is, because you're looking at both sides, they can actually mediate those relationships and ensure that there is, trade is smooth and that capital also moves in the direction of the best advantage. And we think that the direction of best advantage is where you have the renewable energy resources in abundance that can then be used for manufacturing and greening of supply chains.
Yes, and while governments are doing their bit, they're actually coming together, they're holding dialogues, they're meeting up, and the conversation is moving ahead. But how do you think non-government bodies and corporate sectors, private sectors can help in this energy transition?
I think that the role of non-governmental organizations and private bodies is central. Because really, government is only a facilitator in my view. Everyone who is expected to go green is outside of government. So practically every sector that is going to make this happen is outside of government. So this is, in my view, the most important aspect of it. Is first of all, getting everyone to understand where their position is in the energy transition journey and what they ought to be doing. And then government acts as the facilitator, acts as
Yes.
the guide, and all of that, ensuring that policy is right, ensuring that the regulations are right, and in all of the frameworks that are necessary are in place, so that everyone who is supposed to be involved in the transition journey finds their place in it and know exactly what to do. So I think that the role of the private sector and every other sector, civil society, and everyone else, and non-governmental organizations, is key. I mean, they are the ones who are going to make this happen.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think we can all take pride in it together. When we go to a brighter future, a cleaner future, we can all be proud of it together. What charge would you give to the countries present at the dialogue for driving an inclusive and equitable energy transition agenda?
Well, I think for me, I think the most important thing is to listen. There's so many, if you're going to make anything happen, especially, I mean, this is possibly the greatest existential challenge in the history of mankind,
Absolutely.
at least in our own times. And in order to do anything of this size, in order to achieve results, at scale, on something of this enormity, a lot of listening has to happen. And my sense of it is that if we listen carefully to what everyone is saying, and we'll be able to do a more just, a more equitable, a more inclusive transition. Because really, inclusion is crucial. Ensuring that everyone is taken along is crucial. But you have to listen to what people's concerns are. Otherwise you're not going to be able to carry people along with the same force and the same sincerity and intensity that this requires. So I think a lot of listening is important. And, sometimes you have to ask yourself, whether, some of what we say, the big issues that we discuss, are also getting down to the people who actually have to make those changes in their lives, in their everyday lives, Because again, I mean, maybe one of the biggest things that the transition will achieve or must achieve is lifestyle changes, significant lifestyle changes. Because if you say that we're going to go net zero, it means that people are going to change practically everything.
Absolutely.
What they eat, how we transport ourselves, how we entertain ourselves. All of these are going to go through significant changes if we're going to achieve net zero by whatever targets we set for ourselves, whether it's 2050, 2060, or 2070. So we really need to listen to people, and we need to get a feedback and sort of get people engaged in this whole thing. Because what we're saying is that your lives are going to change so fundamentally that in order for us to achieve this, taking the world away from the brink of disaster. So to achieve that, it's significant. We really have to get people involved.
But I think we've lived carefree for far too long. So fundamental change is absolutely needed, and I think we should be ready for it. And I'm glad you're talking about the future. This is my last question to you. 5 years from now, where do you see the world in terms of energy transition? Or where would you like to see the world?
Yeah, 5 years is a short time, frankly, in this business. But certainly what I'd like to see is I'd like to see significant investments come into the global south. The sorts of investments that are transformational, as opposed to just the funds, mitigation and adaptation funds and those kinds of things. Funds that can really, investments that can really make a difference. Because again, what we're saying is that for the global south, this is not just about climate change. It is also about development. It's about ensuring that people's lives are improved, people's lives and livelihoods are made better. So really, really, what I'd like to see is some push in the direction and people actually see that their livelihoods are improved, that their lives are better on account of the transition that we're that we're talking about. So I'd just like to see some significant shift, some significant difference in the
Yes.
quality of lives of people.
Yeah, because people make planet.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
while
yeah.
we are working for the betterment of the planet, we need to definitely work towards the betterment of the people as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, I know I'm not speaking just for myself. We love you at GEAPP. We are very happy to have you
Thank
here.
you very
and
much.
yes, I can just go on and on listening to what you have to say. But I have to ask you, what prompted you to join us? And also, how do you think that GEAPP can help make the world better? How do you think, what is the role that GEAPP is playing in this energy transition?
Well, I think first, I think GEAPP, and I'm not so sure who said this very wise words, that the word alliance in GEAPP is really what it's about. And that's creating the coalitions that will eventually get us further on this journey, on the energy transition journey. And I think that is so critical, that we focus on coalitions and alliances. And that's one of the reasons why, personally, I think that GEAPP is absolutely the place to be. And, and this is the sort of work that's important for us to do. Because, the whole idea of facilitating alliances and coalitions, and for instance, GEAPP's contribution to the Africa Climate Summit was absolutely important, because again, this is about building alliances and all of that, and contributions to these dialogues, for example, so again, this dialogue is about forming alliances, bringing people together, brokering those difficult relationships, and ensuring that people are listening to each other and talking to each other. So I think a global alliance, a global energy alliance for people and planet, sounds like a grand ambition, but it's sort of ambition that I think catches my own fancy, and I think it's sort of thing that one should do. So I'm excited to be in GEAPP.
Thank you so much. We're excited to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It has been lovely speaking to you.
Same here.
Thank you so much. And everybody, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I do hope you will keep coming back. Show some love, show some really good energy. Yes. And if you want to get more of us, if you want to see us as well, we are available on energyalliance.org. Let's change energy together.